This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2022, episode 394. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome into another edition of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. You can visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. My name is Nick Craig. You can give me a follow over on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. You can also check out all of my political antics and find out all of the other places to follow me over at nickcraig.com. Can't do this thing alone. Joining me as he does each and every week, Brian with an I, Aldrich. Hello, Mr. Brian. Hope you're doing well.
I am doing very well. And if you want to find me, you can get me at Brian Aldrich on Gab, Parler, Getter, Truth Social, and all the non-communist social networks. Or you can go to my blog,
Wait, hold on. Go through your list again.
Gab, Parler, Getter, and Truth Social.
Okay, no, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Of course, if you want to go to my blog, biteoftech.com. And of course, our website, if you go there, infectionpodcast.com, on the upper right-hand side, we've got our Discord server. Perhaps there's a news story you think we're missing. There's something that you think we should be talking about. Post a link to it in the news channel, and we will include it in the next show if it's something that's relevant. If you don't want to watch the live show, you can do that through Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive. And then the audio forms are recorded and uploaded after the show is finished. So if you do that, that's down at the lower right-hand side, but there's desktop apps, there's mobile apps, a lot of ways to do that. And if you are going to be listening, that means at that point we do have the show notes uploaded. So you can go to the particular episode, and we'll have links for each of the different topics, maybe videos that we played. So if you're listening, an excellent way for you to do a low bandwidth version of being a part of the show. And we have sources there. So if there's something you're saying, what they're saying is totally off base, not true, go check out our source and see where we're getting it from and see if you think it's legitimate. So if you want to, yeah, we'll see. I mean, some of these things are from Kotaku, so you never know. But if you want to support us, there's a support option up top or infectionpodcast.com/support.
Yes. A quick note. As you mentioned, Brian, people reaching out. I got a text message, probably Thursday or Friday of like, hey, I'm having a problem downloading the podcast. I don't know what the problem was. I went back in, deleted the audio, re-uploaded it, verified it, and it started working. So I'm sure there was other people that also couldn't get it as well, but it took one person to reach out to say, hey, I'm having a problem, and we were able to correct it. So do not assume
any issue, just ping us. Discord is an excellent place to do that too if you want to figure out how to get a hold of one of us.
Yeah, I always say do not assume that we know of a problem, an issue, a news story, a topic, because we might, but we might not because there's so much stuff going on. So always appreciate when folks reach out there. All right, Brian, we have got a whole bunch of interesting news today. I want to start off with, I'm going to take the reins here for a minute, because I want to start off with this CHIPS Act, and I don't want to dive too deep into it in terms of the political side of it, because I think I've already made my point clear if you've listened to the illustrious Wilmington's Morning News podcast. But if you don't, there's been this CHIPS Act, the CHIPS, which isn't actually, it's an acronym for some stupid BS. But the idea with this is it's essentially corporate welfare for big tech, Intel, AMD, companies that make and fabricate silicon chips. And we are coming off of years of issues with these retailers and suppliers and manufacturers like Intel raising their prices. They're continuing to do it. And now nearly 52
and shipping all their things overseas too. I mean, that's been something that now it's the creating helpful incentives to produce semiconductors, chips.
What a stupid, stupid, beyond stupid. But yeah.
Well, and this is something I look at it as, I just know that in a business world, this would have been done differently. I know Trump would have done it differently. You know, I mean, not to bring up the Trump card or whatever, but this is something where he would have incentivized them, not just by handing them money. He would have given them maybe a way to get discounts on or work with other company or done something in a different way. I don't think just handing them money usually is a good thing, because they'll do it while the money's here And then when it runs out, they'll be like, oh, now it's cheaper over in China again. Now it's cheaper to produce them over here in Taiwan or wherever else. And there they go. You need to make it to where it's a long-term incentive, not a short-term money incentive, to keep things in America. And I think that that's going to be what eventually kind of saves our economy, is that, not a temporary, let's hand you money, build a manufacturing here and hope that they just continue that as an ongoing thing.
Well, and what the problem you have here, and I want to be clear and attempt to be somewhat objectively fair with this. This is not just Intel; it's this whole industry as a whole. But the
STEM, they have like cyber, because cybersecurity. You got to think, our tech levels in the United States have been dropping, especially when you have Kotaku and all these places saying, "Oh, working, it's unfair that you're a programmer. Programmers are like fast food people nowadays," and they're talking down going into tech. And now you have people not wanting to go and be programmers because they've made it look bad. And now you're like, oh, we don't have enough people going to be able to work in the government and do our cybersecurity. Well, you've got all the news media sitting here bashing it, and federal work is generally the lowest paying, and so right now, nobody's working. These places are offering a lot of money for anybody to come work, and why would they go work for the government when you pay them a quarter or to half less?
So, with the point I was trying to make with the CHIPS Act is, and I don't mean to call out Intel, but the head of Intel essentially said, pass this bill, pass this legislation, or else, or we're not going to. There's a chip fab plant that is apparently going to be built somewhere in Ohio. And I just want to, I think it's important to note, Brian, that in 2021, Intel profited $43.815 billion. That was their gross profit for 2021, which is about 0.5% increase from where it was in 2020. This company made nearly $44 billion in gross profit, and this company is now going to be subsidized by the taxpayers to the tune of a couple $100 million, if not billions of dollars. It's corporate welfare, and essentially, I take it from the head of Intel, it's essentially corporate blackmail. Give us what we want, or we're going to do. And they did the same thing in Israel, where Intel has this other huge chip plant. They did the exact same thing in Israel. They essentially said, give us this money, or we're going to go build it elsewhere. It's corporate blackmail. It should be considered espionage, but it's not. And I think it's bullshit.
Well, here's one thing. Here's last minute news, because I've gotten down in Intel news here. They actually have taken a dip in this very latest report they did. They were down 22% for GAAP and 17% for non-GAAP. So, they're down. Their operating margins, are down. Gross margins, but R&D is up. I mean, they're not doing very well right now as far as, and it comes down to their video cards. Their video cards
disaster.
have just killed them, and it's really made it to where they're losing a lot of money from their GPU kind of bad GPU launches. So, I don't think they're in a position here to be demanding, because this is going to be a hard time for them to now be building things when they're down so much. The investors are going to be probably nervous to put out a bunch of funds when they're down 17 to 22% in different areas. That's a pretty big drop. And if that continues, if this economy continues, that's what it comes down to now, because who's going out and buying $1,000 video cards? When you're spending $1,000 on groceries a month for some families, you're not. And so I think that that's going to be a continuing thing for them. And I think before this report, I think they felt like people thought they were they probably knew better. But I think a lot of people thought they were in a really good position. And how could that change? Because they've never really dipped that much. Intel's always, for the most part, gone up. But now with the economy, I don't think anybody's safe. I think any company can see a downturn regardless of what kind of product they make.
Yeah. So it's not like anything is going to happen immediately, but it did pass, and the president did sign it. So it will take place, and now we will see what it is. So As you see Intel, which they've already announced they're going to be raising their prices again for their consumer CPUs, as those prices continue to rise, and you look at, wow, these new Intel 12th gen chips are really expensive, just remember that some of your taxpayer dollars are going to go to fund the development of those chips in the future. Must be nice to be Intel. All right, Brian, this broke today in an unusual company that we don't typically think of. Now, they do make gaming peripherals. I have a keyboard and mouse of theirs that I'm using right now. You might be using a webcam.
I have a video card as well.
Yep. You have a Logitech video card?
Or sorry, webcam. I have a Logitech webcam.
I was like, oh, really? Intel's making GPUs and Logitech's making video cards too.
I signed an NDA. I'm not supposed to talk about that.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, this is very interesting. They announced today that they are going to be building a dedicated cloud gaming device.
Yep.
And it's going to be a handheld. And there is an unusual partner, Brian, but not a surprising partner. Who is Logitech teaming up with to make this happen?
Let's see. Tencent. Tencent, not the company that you would think. China. What do we keep saying? What is the primary way that people over in Asia and in South America and companies with, let's say, not as much disposable income, access to hardware, access to certain things, what do they tend to game on?
Phones.
Mobile devices, phones.
Switches.
They things that they can charge and carry with them, things that are smaller. They don't have, on average, believe me, there are people there that do. So don't say, oh, they say that nobody has computers down in those places. They do. But your average user, that's why for certain places, mobile gaming down in like Guatemala randomly. It's one of those countries, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But like, there's a game where it was just huge numbers for one of the games that we talk about.
Yeah,
and
H1Z1.
H1Z1, and then there was H1Z1 was one of them. Where and over in China, H1Z1 was huge as well. But there's mobile gaming there that they play, and it's just that's primarily how they do it. So doing a little handheld device is something that's not locked to Steam, because Steam is not the primary. Like Steam is not always the primary way that they play games, and this will connect with Xbox Cloud Gaming. Of course, Tencent has different things that they use, WeChat, all these other things. This is going to be like that, but not linked to Steam. It's not going to be a Steam Deck. I am.
That's
curious.
what I assumed when I read the headline, because one of the things with the Steam Deck, Brian, was this idea that other companies would come along. Steam will license the software for the Steam OS, and then they can build their own physical hardware device. I assume that's what this was going to be, but it looks like this is going to be its own standalone OS, which will definitely be some sort of Unix or Linux base, and it will run Xbox Cloud Gaming and GeForce Now. But this is a whole nother mobile device.
It's going to be streaming, yeah. It's going to be streaming things. Now the thing about the Steam Deck is it does require a little more power because it's running all those things locally using that, I don't know, it's emulator or whatever type of software. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But
it's using a layer stack to do some of that stuff.
And that actually works really well.
Yeah, Proton.
Well, and they're actually Proton. Very good. Yes, thank you. And they're switching to using Proton, I think, in Linux in general for Linux gaming.
Yeah.
Because it works very well. Now, how this is going to perform, it doesn't sound like it's going to be local things. This is going to be mostly game streaming. And who knows? They might have some mobile things that they run locally as well, but it will be a dedicated cloud gaming handheld. And the big things, Xbox Cloud Gaming. Here, that would be a huge library of games, and that makes it to where it's definitely worth it. Plus, it's backed by a name brand company. It's not a knockoff brand that will have no firmware support, no software support. And Tencent is one of the biggest gaming companies in the world. Not that I'm their fan, but they are one of the biggest gaming companies in the world. So this is like Steam and Microsoft, or whatever kind of comparison you could kind of bring here. that's like those two people coming together and making that hardware device.
Yeah.
So GeForce Now is a streaming service. Xbox Cloud Gaming is a streaming service. And then I'm sure Tencent is working on their own type of thing too that they'll be a streaming service with, or
according
one
to
of their
the
companies.
General manager of Logitech G, which is their gaming division, he writes in a statement, as one of the leading global platforms for game development, publishing, and operations, Tencent Games has been at the forefront of innovation, and it's why we've partnered with them. As someone that grew up playing video games, the idea of being able to stream and play AAA games almost anywhere is super exciting, and we can't wait to show everyone what we've been working on. So we have received no images or details. The only thing that is official on Logitech's website is a form where you put in your email address and you can stay up to date when new things come out. So the idea that this is in anything but the most early stages is probably inaccurate to say. But for the Steam Deck, which is been receiving rave reviews, this could be. And the Steam Deck is relatively affordable. It's like $400 or $450 or something. A streaming only device, Brian, could be like $120, $150 or $200, depending on how they get the cost
Mostly
down.
It'll probably be the screen. Yeah, I mean, mostly it'll probably be whatever the screen is, and then then the hardware itself. The controller.
But if you're just streaming your hardware, you could do it all on a single. And it doesn't even need to be a very powerful
low power
Qualcomm chip to do it. Exactly. It doesn't need, like I know in the Steam Deck they're using the integrated an integrated AMD chip that's doing the graphics and all that. This doesn't need it. I mean, this essentially needs a couple gen old phone processor if it's truly just doing everything mobilely or streaming. But then that includes its own problems, Brian, because what are you going to have a 5G or 4G radio in this device? Does it have to connect to it's got to connect to a WAN?
Yeah, to be truly.
I mean,
well,
it'll
have. I'm sure it'll be a 5G Wi-Fi. Well, okay, so it'll probably have the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi that and maybe 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi that you can use locally. But then when you go on the road, that's when it's going to be difficult because cell phone service gets so spotty. In
the
having
US.
it to where it's going to be. Yeah, in the U.S. In Europe,
different elsewhere.
That's not as much of an issue. But I think some places where there's less home internet options like we have here, where I think they rely more on cell phone service, and I think they have a heavier coverage of cell phone service. Here in the United States, especially where I live, in areas where you live, there's big stretches of nothing. And so depending on where you live, you can have really bad cell phone service. You can have it to where you're barely, like here at our house, we don't have that good a cell phone service, but I've got really good internet service. So it works out. So I think as long as they have the ability to make it to where, and how's that going to work for streaming your game if you're at anywhere that has service like that?
Yeah. So I don't want to speculate anymore on it because it's so unknown right now. But it was definitely not an announcement I was expecting to see today. Is a combination. First of all, Logitech, while I love their peripherals, the keyboard I have is great. The mouse I have, the G500, is been phenomenal. I have a spare one in the closet. I love it so much. They do that stuff. Their webcams have been top notch for years. I've got a couple of C920s, C930s, and 40s. Their stuff they make, a lot of the stuff they make is great. Was not expecting this, and definitely wasn't expecting Tencent to be alongside it as well.
Yeah. Now let's talk about some other Logitech hardware that's made its way to the market here. They are now offering a new gender-inclusive PC gaming accessories from Logitech, and I've seen some adjustments. This at first the title seems to have changed because a couple days ago they were pretty happy about it, but then now they're saying, oh, there's a pink tax, which I didn't realize that was gender inclusive. It was pink. But then, and another one says that that they are also charging more. They're charging more for gender inclusive gear. And how is a light version of pink gender inclusive?
I thought pink was a girl. Oh, I know.
Well, no, but it's not bright pink. It's kind of just it's
a subtle.
It's a toned down pink. It's almost like a mix between a skin color and pink.
Well,
and so.
No comment, but.
Well, I mean, okay, like a pink skin color. Sorry, my skin color. But the thing is, they say fun colors. They got white, with a little bit of glow. These are more less of the, I guess, the either black or the kind of the standard colors that you would see from Logitech. To these, I mean, why don't they just call them a pastel? They're pastels. That's all they are.
So,
I don't know
but,
what
but
it has
hold
to
on.
do with gender.
Is Logitech branding these as gender? Or are these just Logitech's always had weird colored stuff? I have a weird lime green color Logitech keyboard.
Okay, yes,
for my iPad.
The Aurora collection, a lineup of PC gaming accessories that are designed to be more gender inclusive. How? How is pastel now gender inclusive? I don't understand how that even works. What's that have to do with gender inclusivity?
Well, this is for a company like Logitech. This is a great idea because you can just like everybody else does. You just grift on the flavor of the month, and you can claim that you're this, that, and the other.
You could call it the Cloud Collection because that's what it looks like. Oh, the Cloud Collection, but we'll not do that branding. Let's have it on gender. That's the new hot term. The thing doesn't make it looks. It could be the Cloud Collection for all I care. I mean, that's what it looks like. It's just a set of kind of pastel, not so bright but not dark colors. Nothing to do with gender. I guess a guy could get either one. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, it depends on what you would match it with the color of the rest of the stuff.
It depends what color your room is, what color your desk stuff is. I've had all kinds of different colors of keyboard and mouse, and this just to me seemed very odd that they're pushing this as anything to do with gender, because what do these colors have anything to do with gender at all?
They don't.
I don't see any connection to gender in this, in whatever. But you're like, oh, hey, we're doing it. But now people are mad because it costs more. Well, what are they supposed to cost? As much as the mouse that they've been selling for 10 years? All of their new products cost a lot more. It has nothing to do with whether or not it's the gender inclusive version.
Well, but hold on. But when you do a specific color of something, it does cost more. You're making less.
Yeah, it's not. Well, that's the deal. Is they generally when they have something that they have plenty of that plastic for, and they're casting molds for these things. And this series and that series and this series are all using the same colors, but they do different highlights on them. This is a color that is used nowhere else in any of their product lines. So they have to create everything new and come from scratch, and they have all these new designs that aren't using. Now their mice look like, and a few things are using similar designs, but they have some things that are different. It's going to cost more. But I mean, the prices are expensive. There's a lot of Logitech things that I don't buy. Some of their high-end gaming stuff is really expensive. The keyboard, headset, mouse, with because you're adding all the color add-ons, cost $639.97.
Well, hey, you want it? Guess you can buy it.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
I'm not. I guess you can.
The cloud-shaped wrist rest, is $20. That sounds like normal. Usually, when you get a wrist rest that has any kind of, and that has a special design and pattern that they have to mold more specifically than the standard armrests that they sell, $20. It sounds like it's normal to me. And depending on how nice those headphones are, they got LEDs built into them everywhere, on the mouse, on the headset, on the keyboard. So anything with LEDs automatically has an LED tax. Why don't you call it the LED tax, not the gender tax? Because that's really what it is. Most people don't get LEDs on their headphones. That's going to make it cost more money because in their I don't know, they're battery powered or whatever. Looks like they're wireless.
Yeah.
So they're looking at it in the wrong. They're comparing it to something else. Just these things cost a lot of money, and they're having to do all these custom things. But I just thought it was funny that they're bringing gender into it and then getting mad because, well, now are you charging more because I want something that's more gender inclusive? Well, you're wanting something that's not, what they normally make. So yes, they're going to charge you more.
Well, thank God. So thanks, Logitech. We'll see what comes of that. All right, Brian, a unusual ally.
Yes.
I don't know if this is. I normally like to think I've got a pretty good grasp on things. What is the ongoings? What is the pulse? I can't figure this one out at all.
Yeah.
You have a headline article in here from Massively OP, and it reads, TwitchCon will have no mask or vaccine requirement despite the ongoing pandemic. And it reads,
how many years has this been ongoing pandemic?
It's been it'll be 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay.
This all broke today. Now, you have the Massively OP article, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I saw
more
this
level-headed sometimes.
I saw it this morning, and where I saw this was on Twitter when somebody tweeted out the Kotaku article. May I read you the headline from that?
All right, let's hear this.
TwitchCon gives zero shits that the pandemic is still happening. There are no vaccine requirements, no testing requirements, and no mask rules. That is the headline from Kotaku.
Now,
so this is exactly it. It's taking place in SoCal, San Diego in October, and they don't have any health guidelines. The city of San Diego doesn't have any of these guidelines in Southern California.
Yeah.
The venue doesn't have any requirements or things, so they're not enforcing anything. And all of the Twitchites, all the people that, yell and scream constantly about, we got to cancel you and you're not allowed on our platform, they are now having a freaking coronary over Twitch because of this, and it's so funny, Brian, because when I comment on the PAX subreddit about not wanting to go to PAX because of their vaccine and mask requirement, I'm told that I need to go find another convention. Yet, when you tell that to the people that are attending, that don't want to attend TwitchCon because of their environments, because of their requirements, they call you a bigot and a racist and attack you. So
now I wanted to read what an employee said. There's a Twitch employee who posted on Twitch.
He's an employee of Twitch or a streamer of Twitch?
No, let's see. I think this guy is an employee of Twitch.
Okay.
So let me make sure.
It really doesn't matter. But
Steven Spohn, yeah. I thought he would. Maybe he's not. But here's what he said: until Twitch decides to take the safety and health of its employees, streamers, and staff seriously. Maybe he's a Twitch ambassador. Sorry.
Oh,
not an employee. Seriously, my recommendation as a Twitch ambassador is that you should skip TwitchCon San Diego. Mandatory masks and testing have shown to work at other conventions. The TwitchCon should be no different.
But some guy died but hold on, some guy died after PAX East.
Yeah, people. But
he had a vaccine. They had a vaccine and mask requirement. The reason we didn't even look at going to Seattle this year is because PAX is still peddling this bullshit. You have to be vaccinated and you have to wear a mask all the time.
There's a hospital where 3 of the doctors died 4 days after they got their second booster requirement. One was in his 20s. One would look like he was in his 30s. The other one was maybe 50-ish.
Yeah,
and they all three died. And you're telling me we get one person who dies at after a convention, but some people get the vaccine and then they die, and you're telling me that that's not an issue? How about we talk about this? Biden has tested positive again 2 times right in a row. He is fully vaccinated and has received his 2 boosters. What does being vaccinated have to do with getting COVID anymore? That's what I'd like to know.
Well,
why are they pushing to? All these people are saying, "Oh, you're threatening people's lives." Doesn't seem to have anything to do with it. Most of the people I know that have gotten the COVID lately are vaccinated. I got it. I got COVID, and that was my first time that I tested and been able to see that I actually had COVID. 2.5 years into the pandemic, never been vaccinated.
Well,
people are getting sick with it every day that are fully vaccinated, fully boosted. It's just like a flu shot. The shots are a guess. They are not like other vaccines that you're used to, where you're actually getting inoculated from the actual virus for a period of time.
But I want to talk.
You could be fully vaccinated and boosted, and you still get sick.
Yeah, and that's not anything new. What I am very interested in, Brian, and what I said earlier was normally I've got a pretty good grasp on things. Mm-hmm. Why? the people on Twitch are the most far, and I'm saying the streamers, the ambassadors, the staff, whatever the hell they want to call themselves, they are the most far left, hook, line, and sinker shills for the Democrat Party and their politicians. Why does Twitch not have? Why did Twitch not have this mandate day one?
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
This is an odd thing. This is an odd thing from them. But hey, we don't know what their numbers are looking like. We don't know if they're in panic mode internally. They could be down huge amounts because of the crazy stuff that is happening over Twitch over the last couple of years. They might be trying to reverse. A lot of companies are trying to. There's some big companies that have now on their platforms banned all woke advertising, all straight out. And this has happened in the last couple of weeks. There's starting to be a pullback because it's just gone so overboard where people are going nuts. I think that there's a pullback happening. Now, I haven't heard about it happening at Twitch. I've seen no inclination of any of their actions until this one showing that they're trying to do anything differently. But, other than them shutting down that, the deer person, whatever, that was the only thing I ever saw where they actually backed down a little bit. But, that just made them look really bad. Well, there is one of our listeners who was at Amsterdam's PAX, or TwitchCon, and he said no masks, everything was great.
Well, and that's what I find interesting is I was reading some of the comments on Massively OP and on Kotaku today, and there were a couple of different comments. Of course, people in the United States just, Twitch is just such a garbage company. With their typical, logical reaction. But I saw a bunch of comments specifically from people in other countries. And Brian, somebody named Nick, great name, commented on, and it was not me, who commented this on Massively OP 7 hours ago. Quite frankly, I'm a bit surprised by the reaction in this article and of my fellow commenters here. Is this mostly a thing in the U.S.? For all intents and purposes, the pandemic is considered to be a thing of the past in Europe. In most countries, there are no COVID regulations anymore, and there's no mask mandate or vaccine requirements at any restaurants, festivals, events, or smaller activities. It is a U.S. thing. China and the U.S. are seem to be, in Australia, are like the only three places in the world that still has some of these ridiculous things. It's not that way in Europe. It's not.
Well, I think,
and in most of places in the U.S., it's not either. But you still have, as I continue to mention, these groups and these subcultures, PAX, all of these other conventions that are still so freaking afraid of everything. You've got the most obese, unhealthy people that attend these conventions that don't care about health at all. They don't care about personal hygiene. They don't care about health. They don't care about what they eat. These people are dropped dead of heart attacks at 35 years old because their arteries are clogged with shit.
There's a reason I didn't want to sit in one of those beanbags.
They're so concerned with the health of COVID-19. It's just unfathomable to me. It's a U.S. problem, and it's specifically within left-wing cultures, which is what the entire gaming industry is. It's what the whole gaming journalism industry is. It's everything, nearly everything that is involved in video gaming is summed up in these articles, the headline from Kotaku, and the comments. Is everything that, Brian, you and I have been calling out for the past couple of years is what's wrong with this industry.
Well, and I think the problem
the Kotaku article is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing.
I think, well, in reading through some of those comments, they're like, but you don't understand. In California, COVID's blowing up right now. Why do you think?
How?
They had the least amount of herd immunity because
they were
shut
shut
there
down.
and did everything. They did everything they could not to pass it around. When I've been saying from the beginning, get herd immunity. Have it where the people that are healthy get it, so where it doesn't, once it's passed through, and they're like, "That herd immunity will never happen." Well, it's happening other places where they've gotten past it, and then it becomes like the flu because it's just an ongoing thing, or the cold, where it's an ongoing thing. Back in the day, the flu would kill you. Guess what? It's now been through our systems, and we're building up immunities over time with it. It doesn't kill you as much anymore unless you're obese, have a lot of these health problems that, well, hey, you and I have been there. A higher percentage of the people that go to these conventions fit into the risk categories. I mean, I'm not going to say no offense because it's just the reality of it. I know they want to write on Kotaku that, you have to accept it all, but you look at it, they are setting themselves up for death. Obesity will kill you. So quit saying that it's a great thing. Embrace it. You're not allowed to even say that being overweight is something that's not good. Guess what? It's not. It's more just like heavily drinking alcohol. Anything in excess will kill you, and you're setting yourself up to die. It's just frustrating.
Yeah. We'll throw all of these links in the show notes. There is a petition on Twitch's website, their uservoice.com. Remember, we got an idea upvoted. I don't remember what it was, but we got an idea upvoted on this website.
It has something to do with a
Gender.
term like gender,
Yeah.
name, like a name,
Yeah,
like
something stupid like that. But there's a
saying you're a
currently
guy, like being able to say you're a guy or something on there. I don't remember, something simple.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was either. See if I can find it. But there's a post over there of a user vote, and the topic is, or it reads, mask requirement for TwitchCon. It's got about 2,800 upvotes listed on that. So that is what folks.
You could dress up in a
feeling.
full. Why don't you walk around in a suit? Why don't you role play Breaking Bad and wear the yellow suit with the mask? No one will look at you differently, and you can feel safe walking around the convention because you won't get sick. I mean, if you're that concerned about it, role play in some sort of a suit. Wear the suit. You won't get sick, and you won't have to worry. Instead of making everybody like what they should have done from the beginning. If you're sick, stay home. If you're sick, wear a mask. You know, if you're healthy, do your normal day. That's what it should have been from the beginning. And I don't think we'd have these spikes in these liberal cities where they kind of have now pushed it back to now from having people get sick.
Brian, do you have your black book?
Yes, I do.
I need you to. Now, I don't say this lightly, but I think you need to put in the prediction. Twitch will have to change this policy. There is not a chance in
They're reversing it.
That Twitch can go, that this thing happens in October the 7th or whenever it's supposed to happen without Twitch changing this policy. There is no way.
So Nick says Twitch will reverse the policy prior to TwitchCon.
There's no, Brian, their entire, the only thing their audience, the people that go to these cons care about is stuff like this. And as I said, I don't know under
they
what
put themselves
circumstances.
in that boat, though. It's 100% Twitch's
but see,
fault.
it is, and that's why I don't understand why they would even test the waters with this. They could have gotten away with just having a vaccine mandate, but they have nothing, which I think is great.
But
by the way,
the vaccine mandate's worthless anyway.
It is worthless, but I think but let me, and I want to be clear with this. I'm not saying I want Twitch to do this stuff. I'm saying there's just no way that they can get around this from the moral outrage folks here.
I mean, Amaranth is just going to be so upset. I mean, she's just going to. Their primary streamers are just going to get out of their hot tubs and walk right out the door.
I'll tell you this.
What are they going to do with themselves?
Brian, if I'm wrong, which I hope I am, this is a prediction I hope I'm very wrong on. If I am, maybe this indicates a turn in the tides for Twitch. And that's what I was originally thinking.
This is the first.
Is this maybe and this is a big step. This isn't some little subtle thing. This is, I mean, you can look at the outrage. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what Twitch does in this. They're going to have to revoke it. I don't see any way.
But if you look at it, they frame it as if a bunch of their numbers are all that. But internally, they know whether or not that's true. They know where their bread and butter comes from.
You're saying their numbers. You're talking about their viewership and audience and things like that?
Their viewership and where the actual dollars come into their company from.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And they like to play it off as it has to do all with, with the gender and all that stuff that we talk about. They like to claim that it's all so far on that side. But I think that is just smoke and mirrors. I don't think that's true. I think their money comes in from the average person who right now is struggling because of the economy, and I think their numbers are going down. I think they're getting a lot less donations. They've recently changed the way that their donation system work to make it so that the streamers get more to try to keep them on the platform, because if your numbers go down and they're taking 50%, which Twitch did, they've now made it to where the streamers get a little bit more. I think that there's a lot less viewership. I think that the numbers are going down, and I think they're trying to figure out how in the world are we going to get a normal person to come back on our platform and watch on a regular basis, because I think a lot of the normal people have left, and they're realizing how small their numbers actually are. I think that's my prediction. Not that I need to write it down, but that's what I think.
And it's very possible we've seen other streaming platforms and sites that have been gaining in traction. You've got services like DLive and Odyssey and Cozy.tv and some of these other platforms that are really, they're niche and they're small right now, relatively, but are really starting to gain some traction. It very well could be eating into Twitch. It's interesting. Falcon's mentioning Facebook Gaming. They've got a bunch of exclusives. YouTube is bolstering up their gaming thing as well.
Which is getting a lot of conservative people because they can actually go to YouTube, which is crazy, and speak a little bit more. Not that they have total freedom, but they that gets cranked down a little bit here and there. But compared to Twitch, they have the ability to say a lot more on Twitch. You could, if you're a major streamer and you say, I don't believe that the vaccine is effective. There's a good chance they'll boot you, even though. Well, look at what happened with Biden. How can you say it's effective? He's received every vaccination possible, and he's gotten it twice in the past month. And you're saying the vaccine's effective.
Less than 2 weeks. No,
2 weeks. He's gotten it twice, and you're telling me the vaccine's effective. The facts. The problem is they will ban and do things that when you look at actual facts, they're 100% counter to what they're banning you for. But that doesn't matter. And, your average streamer is going to be like, why in the world would I stay on this platform? You guys are insane. And the people that are normal will leave. And I think people are now, look at the huge trend towards conservatism that's been happening in the United States lately. I think they see that. I think they see people are dumping the Democrat Party. How do you not get scared when you've been coddling that whole side so much? I think that's part of this trend. I think they see the writing on the wall that the average person no longer wants to associate themselves with the crazy. Well, they're associated with the crazy. And how are they going to change that? They have to reverse all these policies and do I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. We're normal, I swear. Come over back here. We won't ban you for saying normal, everyday things that should be common sense. That's going to be a hard road for them to come back on. But they got to start somewhere. And if they're going to retain their viewership, after this election, especially because that'll be a really good indicator of where it is. That'll be a definite, what do people think? I think they're going to have to try to figure that out.
So that's the latest we've got right now. It's been less than 24 hours since the news came out about them announcing that there was not going to be any of these requirements. I would say that within the next couple of weeks, it might even be the next couple of days, they revoke that policy, and then the crowd will rejoice, and anybody that speaks against it will not care about science or health or anything like that. All right.
I got trust the science.
Yeah, exactly. Trust the science. I don't want to dive too deep into this because we're running a little long, but I did want to mention, and especially Brian, you talk about we talk about the economy a lot and the impact, and we did talk about how the gaming industry was feeling this. Well, not all of the gaming industry, because yesterday afternoon, shortly after the closing bell on Monday, Activision Blizzard, which is still a separate company, Microsoft has not completed their acquisition yet. Their ticker is ATVI. They reported their Q2 earnings, and it showed that actually they beat expectations. They were expected to book 1.59 billion. They booked 1.64 billion, and that their earnings per share were expected to be 48. 47, and they ended up being 48. So while it wasn't a unbelievably, amazing quarter, they didn't blow it out of the water. They beat expectations, which the gaming industry as a whole.
He's such a loser. He's not good at his job at all. You got to get rid of that guy. Fire him.
Agree. Yeah,
the one guy in the industry who actually met the one that all the left-wing nuts are jumping after, trying to get fired like crazy, and he's the only person who beat expectation in the whole industry.
Yeah,
that's a side note, but hey,
Microsoft's revenue has fallen 6% year over year. Sony's has fallen 13% year over year. Unit sales for Sony have fallen 26% year over year. The gaming industry has very much seen a bit of a contraction.
we might not get to it, but China has seen its first decline since records began in their gaming market.
I'm
That should
sure
be a sign. It's
and
100% controlled by their government, and it's still declining.
yeah, so they beat analyst expectations on revenue, but fell a little bit short on the bottom line. But overall, a relatively, I mean, if you're Activision and Bobby Kotick, again, as you mentioned, the terrible CEO, this is a phenomenal quarter two. This is a phenomenal quarter two report, and Call of Duty comes out in the next couple of months. That will be in the quarter three report, which will definitely be boosting revenues hard. And then the acquisition will happen soon. And that's expected to be complete within the next 12 or 16 months. So yeah, that'll be interesting.
Well, and they're trying to block that acquisition because they're saying that there are must-have games, at Activision Blizzard, and so actually Microsoft says, well, the studio doesn't make must-have games. What game? It's not like an operating system or your telephone service or your internet provider. What must-have game in order to survive life, or be able to operate in a normal capacity? What's a must-have game? What do you have to survive? Because there's plenty of games that our boys don't have. There's plenty of games that I have that you don't have, or you have that I don't have. What's a must-have game? How would they block this? Because there's a game that they'd be taking away from somebody that they need. It's kind of a weird thing that they were trying to push.
Well, for them, they're trying to get away with it.
Yeah.
And this is how you say, people don't actually need it. Yeah.
Well, what game do you need?
None. Exactly.
I don't know what game you need, but I thought that was kind of odd. I have something, Nick, that's in the now that you've written this, in the prediction book, there's something here having to do with the Google Stadia.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a
we need
rumor.
to talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah, can we talk about that really quick?
Yeah, we can, because there was apparently a leak this week. There was some developer conference or something going on, and a friend of a guy's neighbor's cousin's uncle's dog is a developer at Google, and he reported that Stadia apparently is going to be shutting down by the end of the year. That was the initial report. Actually, excuse me, by the end of the summer, not the end of the year, the end of the summer, which is like 65 plus days, like 65 days away.
Which I would not be surprised. Hey, I've worked with Google. I've worked on projects that they've shuttered. Believe me, I understand how they work. They shutter things all the time, and I don't think their product's doing very well. And who knows if they're going to use it somewhere else. But Nick, in Q2 of 21,
Q2 of 21,
you made a prediction. Yeah, you made this prediction a while ago.
Holy moly!
You said that in February of 2022. Now, I mean, you're a couple months off, but for having made this, coming up on a year and a half ago, this prediction.
Yeah.
If this actually happens by the end of summer, you're actually pretty close. I would say that's a winning prediction. It being off by just a little bit. You said
6
February
months.
2022, Stadia will announce its sunset.
Yeah, we'll announce its sunset.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what if they're closed by the end of the summer? I would consider that a win.
That's what I'm saying. They may announce it now. That would be within 6 months of the guest time. That would be a win in my book.
And it is literally your book.
I just think that would be so. If it is, that would be a pretty good prediction that Nick said over a year and a half ago that they'd be announcing. You could say in 2022, and it still would have been a winning prediction. But you're within a 6-month leeway. So let's see over the summer if they do announce.
Now,
let's see if they do announce, because you've been predicting this now for over a year and a half.
Now they claim that they are not shutting down. Correct?
They'll say that until they do, because that'll affect their stock prices and all these other things.
Yeah. So they put out a tweet, or they didn't put out a tweet. Somebody, because of this rumor that made its way out, rumor comment from somebody. Which is, by the way, there's a platform called Killed by Google, and which is a website and a service that looks at services that are killed by Google, and you can go there and search, and you can
the Google graveyard. Yeah,
I mean, literally, it's all of the different services that Google has had and has murdered.
The Hangouts,
Timefully, Picasa, the Google flu trends.
Chrome apps, killed
Yeah.
in 2022.
The Quick Office. It's
G
just
Suite free edition. They said free forever G Suite that they offered me. That now
to
all
your
of a
whole
sudden
family.
I'm having to either transition. Yeah, I'm now having to transition everybody off of the Google accounts that they have or pay for them. But they were free forever when I signed up for them. Amazing.
This is the prediction that they've got on their website. 750 people have predicted that September the 16th is the date, which, it's not necessarily the end of summer, but it's close enough. It's closer than my prediction. Stadia had responded to a couple of folks. A tweet on July the 29th, which was Friday, said, quote, in response to somebody saying, I hate to hear that you're shutting down, Stadia is not shutting down. Rest assured, we're always working on bringing more great games to the platform and Stadia Pro. Let us know if you have any other questions. And then they replied to somebody else's saying, or then they put out another tweet mocking the original rumor saying, an old coworker of mine is now one of the social managers of Google. They had a pretty large seminar in California this past weekend. Long story short, you can play Wavetail at no additional cost on Stadia Pro. The original tweet was, long story short, Stadia is shutting down by the end of the summer. So they seem to be having fun with this. It could be very well that the internal people don't know that Stadia is shutting down, so this all could be accurate, but the decision has been made on the top, and it will trickle down over the next couple of months. So there's no question Stadia is shutting down, right? I mean, there's nobody using it. There's no games.
Yep. And if you're going to do this, Google's not going to do it as well. Google has never done things as well. The original Chromecast didn't do it well. They did it the way they wanted. They did it like an engineer. And then, Amazon came through and all these other companies came through with legitimate good streaming devices. They just don't do things well the first time. They come up with some cool ideas, or they'll put into production some cool ideas, but they don't do them well. And they eventually shut down. And I don't know, they use the tech for different things. They're using the Hangouts tech for business use now. They're selling it as a service for businesses. But all these things are all tests. This one, who knows? Remote work is what I figured, and I think they're now realizing that there's very few uses for needing a remote desktop for remote work anymore. Most of these platforms have it to where you can remote work, and they've been doing it for years now, and it kind of kills the need for this. Unless, but maybe there is a small niche service for this, but it doesn't need to be a paid for service. They're probably going to turn around and sell the devices to companies to be able to remote work internally.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're planning. You can go to their website and you can see, oh, wow, here are some of the free games you can play, Brian. Calico, which is a cat game. Time on Frog Island. Some Friday Night at Freddy's something.
That's Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, Security Breach.
Security Breach, okay. Yeah, the text is unreadable. Centipede Recharged, Rogue Book, and Those Who Remain. These are the top games that they are promoting as free, none of which I have ever heard of. But none of them even look.
I've not played any of those.
What I've
heard of Friday Night at Freddy's, but I've not seen that one.
I mean, what is this?
I gotta love these kinds.
Yeah.
Looks like a mobile game. I mean, it could run mobile.
It looks like Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Wow. It's great. Subscribe to Stadia.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, this is why you want to pay the money to stream this.
Is it $8 and $9 a month? Yeah. Well,
there you go.
If I were a gambling man, I would not put my stock into Stadia right now. So, just saying. All right.
I know. Well, that's what they are preventing, because they don't want to have people dumping their stock because of a rumor. Of course, everything's cool. Don't sell your stocks. We're fine.
Well, tell you what, though, this is, and I'll say this, and we can move on. Let's just assume, and I don't need any justification for it. Let's assume that Google is shutting down Stadia. They know at the toppest levels of Google, but the employees don't know. Even the high-end staff inside of Stadia, higher level staff, doesn't know. That's got to be, even if you're internally, you're told, no, Brian, stop. We're not shutting down. That stuff is just conjecture online. You have to assume that you're shutting down.
Yeah.
And we've seen so many people leave Stadia, big, high-level people at Stadia leave. There's no way if you're working at Stadia right now that you're not tip-top and you're not doing a top-off on your resume and getting it all up to date.
Yeah, I would be nervous. I mean, well, it's kind of like I was with them working on projects for Google Plus, so I know how this feels. Just seeing how it's kind of shutting down, and you see they're winding down, but you're still finishing up a project which they ended up pushing to YouTube Live. It became a YouTube Live product. Yeah, it's the way it works. They do it all the time, and they work mostly off a contract now. So you're not really even an employee a lot of the times. You're actually like a contractor who's how you kind of are Google, but you're not Google. They can fire you, let you go when your contract ends. They don't have to fire you. So all these people probably are on contracts that will just stop being renewed, and we didn't fire anybody. Their contracts expired.
Now we wait and see.
Yep. Hey, do you want to do one more here?
Yeah, we got like a couple more minutes, 5 minutes. Or
all right, let's do an update. Ubisoft.
Yes.
A better Ubisoft. The union that they want to form, and
one of the last companies that hasn't been purchased yet.
Yeah, so they have all these demands, that they've been pushing on them, and they say that the people behind this petition say the demands have not been met, and they share some very upsetting statistics. And could you pull up those tweets that show their very upsetting? They're very upsetting statistics.
Now, I'm going to click on it, but I'm not going to look. What kind of statistics? Like, can I guess the statistics? Like, what ballpark are these statistics in?
So these are of the people who have quit, because they're so upset with the company and they don't want to work there. What kind of people were those people? Like, what were some of the what's the demographic of those people?
Of the people that have quit Ubisoft?
Yeah, because of course they quit because they're so angry with the company because of this.
90% of them are they or thems of the non-gender. 90% of them have quit.
You might be surprised by these statistics.
I'm pulling it up. Oh, and Saul Grapeman says custom hair, cotton candy hair color. Yeah, is that an option too? Yes. Whoa!
No,
these statistics are very surprising.
Well, I mean, it does follow with the national averages of what people are actually, actually these things.
Wait, so only 1% of the people that quit this terrible, awful company use the they them pronouns?
Yeah, I mean, of the people that left the company, only 1% were the people that seem to be super. I know, that's what I'm talking about. They push as if you're the minority, but you're not. The 1% into 2% is what would people that would tend to use they thems. 60% in the industry would be people that use he hims, and 25. They say 25.4% of their global workforce is women. They say 39% use she, her. 1%, use they, them. So that was one statistic. The next one after that, they talk about how many of their global workforce are female. So 25.4 of their global workforce is female, which means,
that seems a lot.
This is their quote. They hire primarily females, heavily because of STEM and all this, where that's not the number that apply versus the men. It's not 75% men, just under 75% men applied and then 25% women. That's definitely not true. I bet you that it was probably 5% that applied were women. But you got a 25.4% global workforce, which means that we are massively disproportionately losing women who signed our open letter calling. Wait, what's a woman?
What is a
are you saying that a woman is one who uses she, her? I mean, wait.
But I've got a bigger problem with this, and it's the term disproportionately, because that is a term that certain individuals and certain groups like to throw around. For example, if 51% do something and 49% do the other, you can say it's disproportionate. Because there is a 2% difference between A and B. It is disproportional.
Yes.
It is not by definition 100% proportional. There is a 2% difference. So disproportionately could mean which means that we are massively disproportionately losing women. What is that? Give me a number. What is it? Because you just gave me a number, and see, this is. Let me give you a tip, Brian. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on a second. Play it. Let me give you a tip of the week here. This is how you know, and this I'm being dead serious here. This is for the keen people. When you look at a statement like this, where they use a statistic, a number, which you can quantify, women represent 25.4% of our global workforce. That is a statistic. That is a number. It is a percentage. We got it. And then in the next statement, when you say massively disproportionately, which you could quantify as a number because you obviously have it and you didn't, that's how you know it's not a big deal. And that is a tip that I'm bestowing upon you because you see it in media all the time. I cover this crap daily on my radio show. It'll say 70% of people say this, and then a large majority. And you're like, huh, what does that mean? Then you dig out the poll, and it's 53%, which is not a large majority. Yeah. It's 50 plus 3.
Yeah. Yep.
Falcon says they could have given an exact ratio, but they didn't because it negates their point.
Well, and the thing is, look, they said 39% use she, her. Therefore, because there's 25.4% of the people who quit, 39% use she, her. Therefore, since it's 25.4% of their workforce, that means there's more women. Are you saying that those were women only that used the she, her? I mean, or, what's that have to do with it? They're not telling me that all those she, hers were actually women. I see guys that use she, her for some reason. I mean, you look on Twitter, you'll see it all day long. It has nothing. They're using fake terms that for people that they want to assign themselves, and not to an actual biological representation, which is what that 25.4% is. How do those two correlate?
Would you like to look at their key demands before we get out of here?
All right, let's see.
Their key demands: stop promoting and moving known offenders from studio to studio, team to team with no repercussions. This cycle needs to end. That I agree to. If somebody is accused and found out of sexually harassing somebody, they need to be fired. I actually agree with that.
And that's normal. Yeah, that's normal. That should be normal.
Yeah.
Way that you deal with it in business.
Number 2, we want a collective. I don't know who we is.
Who's we?
Whatever
these 15 people in this group.
Yeah. We want a collective seat at the table to have a meaningful say. So they want a majority. They want 51%. They want a meaningful say.
They want it to where their
how
vote
Ubisoft as a company moves
pushes
forward.
one thing.
Yeah. They want majority.
This group of people that have no real actual thing in the company.
Yeah,
it's just a group of people on Twitter.
We want meaningful say. So we want to control the company. We want 51% to control it. 3, cross-industry collaboration to agree on a set of ground rules and processes that all studios can use to handle these offenses in the future. Why don't you just worry about your own company?
Why don't you write a document? You're and I on the same page. Write your own document and submit it and say, hey, we think these are good ideas. You're free to use them. Because that's all you're saying. How's that a demand? You're saying it's a demand, yet you're then saying can use. No, that's not a demand. Then just write it and email it to them. And then say, you can use this. That's not a demand. A demand means they have to do it. This is saying they can use it.
And then 4, this collaboration must heavily involve employees in non-management positions and union representatives. Those are their 4 demands that they are making to Ubisoft. Only one of them is a demand. It's the first one, and I actually agree with it completely. The other 3 are nothing but conjecture. So, Brian, what I say to you now is I demand that you tell the folks where they can find you on the internet. I demand it.
All right. Yeah, if you want to find me at Gab, Parler, Getter, and Truth Social, is at Brian Aldridge. Of course, if you want to go to my blog, biteoftech.com, of course, that's with an I, B-I-T-E of tech.com. And, of course, our website, infectionpodcast.com. If you go there, upper right-hand side, we got our Discord server where you can come and hang out. We got 11 ARC servers going on there. News channel if you want to be a part of that. We have a politics channel, which is always a lot of fun, and political memes, which are going all day. And then and a lot of other things you can do in there. Just join it, and we'll assign you, if you want to be in one of those channels, we'll assign you to the proper one. If you want to watch the video form of the podcast, you can do that through Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive. Those are live and after the fact uploaded. If you want to do the audio only, that is not live, but once we're done with the show, Nick uploads that, and you can get it on your favorite podcatcher or app on your computer or even to your email and things like that. If you are going to be listening to it, I encourage you to go to the particular episode, because by the time that's on the air or uploaded to the server, we then have the show notes up, which has links and everything that we refer to throughout the show. So if any of these things that we're looking at, if you want to go see the sources and the things that we're talking about, you're more than likely to jump to that episode, put all those things on there, or click all those links on there, and it'll show you everything in videos, whatever we looked at, they're right there. There's even an audio and a video player built in. And if you want to support the show, there's a support option up top, or infectionpodcast.com/support.
Yes, you can do that. And there's also the whole show is time-stamped on YouTube. So you can scroll to on the little bar, scroll to the specific section of the show and listen to that. And if you're going to go back and look at the show notes, I'd recommend you go read some of the comments on the Kotaku and other articles about TwitchCon. If you're looking for something to do, maybe as you're winding down your night, go read that before you go to bed, and I think you'll have a good time doing that. All right, Brian, thank you very much, and I demand that you are here next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, okay?
I'll make sure that happens.
All right, thank you. That's my demand. So I'll put if not, I'm going to put out a mean tweet. Thanks, Brian. We'll see you next week. For all of the folks joining us here, greatly appreciated as always. You can check me out by visiting my website, nickcraig.com. I host 3 hours of live local radio in Wilmington, North Carolina every morning. You can check out the details again at nickcraig.com, and give me a follow on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. If you missed any portion of the show, I'd recommend you head on over to our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.